Okay, so let's say you want to get into sampling and you're trying to figure out a way that you can hide your samples. All right. Now, first of all, I don't recommend that you go and steal other people's music, but if you want to sample, especially if you're doing it for a hobby or whatever, you don't have to worry about copyright, obviously, but you need to figure out a way to try to mask the sample so that nobody can recognize it. Now, sometimes you just can't. Okay, sometimes you got to find a sample that's just really, really good, and you want to use it, and you should just use it as is. That's fine. And if you do that, then yeah, you should clear the sample. Okay, you should have it clear. You should pay for it, and all that. But it's not like years ago. Years ago, you could pretty much get away with sampling whatever anyway. And most likely, even today, like they're not going to really go after you unless you're some making like millions of dollars or whatever, and which is understandable because if I made some music and then somebody went and stole my music by sampling it and then made millions of dollars, I'd be really upset. You know what I mean? So, but if you're low on the radar, I mean, the chances of somebody actually trying to sue you or whatever, I mean, are very slim, But still, either way, it's a good practice to try to manipulate your sample some way so that it's kind of hidden. Okay, so what I have here is this piano here. Check this out. All right, so if you remember a few videos back, I showed I did a video where I was making a beat, and that's what I came up with. Now that piano is from some sample I found, and I chopped it up into little pieces, and I created this thing right here. I created this, okay, with that sample. Okay, so I made this. All right, now I could use some famous sample for this example, but I don't want to because on YouTube might go, ew, you can't use that. It's copyright. You can't use that sample. You have to pay somebody to use that. We're gonna take the audio out of your video and all that. You can't do that. It's not legal. So anyway, I don't want to get into that. So basically, I'm taking this that I created and I'm going to show you what to do with it. Now, when you listen to it, okay, it's not just this. You may think it's just this one piano hit, but there's actually a little bit of piano in the back. Now, if you watch that previous video that I did, I have this one piano note. Let's say it's here, for example, and then I had another one. I think it was here, and it was the same note, but I took the tail end, just the tail end of that sample of that piano note, and I just went really fast with it. Okay, so it was like a background. So it just makes this. It just fills out the background of the piano. Okay, so instead of just having this one piano note, instead it's just I'm filling out the space. Okay, so in that example, what I have is this. If you hear it in the background, see right there. All right, so I'm going to copy this and show you here. All right, so just to give you an example here. All right, so it's something like this. Yeah, so that's the background note I was playing over and over again. Okay, so basically, let's say you want to sample this. All right, now if you take it and even if you chop it just a bit, somebody's going to recognize it because you've got this sound behind it. Okay, let's say you just had this one note. Again, I'll copy this and let's just get that first note here. Where let's say like this. Okay, like this. Let's say you just have this one piano note. Okay, now if you're just sampling that, then yeah, you can get away with using that because nobody's going to recognize that. All right, but because it's got that in the background, well, just this little piece here, but it has this in the background, it's very hard to just jack this sample because let's say it was a horn, for example, then somebody's definitely going to notice it, because let's say I take this, okay, and then I go and pitch it down by 4, let's say. Now, listen how much lower it sounds. Okay, now you take that and nobody's going to really recognize it, but then what could happen is somebody could take this and say, hey, it sounds kind of like mine. And then they pitch it back up a couple of tunes and they come to the original sample. So if you're going to sample something, you can't just pitch it up or down. because then somebody's going to recognize it by just pitching it back up. I mean, I've done that myself. I mean, there was some hip hop song years ago I was listening to, and I was like, this sounds kind of familiar, and the sample, and I loaded it up into I think it was Adobe Audition, and then I pitched it up or down or whatever it was, and I was like, and then I can hear the actual recording, and I was like, oh, okay, you know, so it's pretty obvious, you know. So if you're gonna do it, you can't just pitch it up and down. You got to add an effect. So I'm showing you this because with this sample, it's got, like I said, it's got this background music. If you're gonna sample that, you could still do it, but you'd have to add something to it. So let's say with this here, okay, this original sample. Let's say I go and I add an effect to it. Okay, let's say I'm going to add a phaser, let's say. All right, so just whatever settings for the phaser, now listen to it. It's got this whoosh, you know, around it and all that. But just an example, right? I'm just adding a phaser. My point is that if you're going to jack the sample like this, you know, you want that piano, but it's got this music behind it, you'd have to chop it or whatever, but then you'd have to add some kind of effect to it. Okay. And then once you record that for your own beat, then it's going to be harder for somebody to say, hey, that's my piano. I played that piano. Because once you record this with the effect on it, nobody can strip that effect off. It's recorded. You can't, it's just impossible. You can't do that. Unless, you know, somebody from the NSA did something recently, I don't know. And they did something. But other than that, you can't do that. And especially if you know, like that, I just did that with, hold on a sec. I just did the phaser on it, and then I pitch it down, let's say, down to 4. Then you're like, oh, okay, nobody can really tell where that's coming from. You can kind of hear it. I mean, you can tell in a way, but that's if you're using it as is. So what I would do with this is I would take this, now that it's got an effect on it, it's pitched down. Take this, let's put it here, let's say. Now I'm going to chop this, and let's say I just put it into this. So right there. Okay, hold on, let me just check this here. Okay, so check this out. That's awesome. I mean, right there, that's I should make a beat with that. Right there, that's a foundation for a beat right there. That could be your background music right there. You take that now. So that's pitched down. It's got a phaser effect on it, and I've chopped it a bit. So actually what I have is, when you listen to it, you don't hear that piano. You don't hear that piano note. So you could keep that, but the thing is, in this scenario, because you got that background music, you don't really want to keep that original piano. Even though you really want it, let's say, you can't really keep it, because then you're going to be stuck with, you know, this issue that, like, people could still kind of tell that it's, you know, this sample or whatever. So you'd have to chop it and play with it. But that's the beauty of this, because you can just chop it and do whatever you want. And, you know, in a way, it's like, even if somebody was challenging you in court, let's say, and they said, hey, that's my piano or whatever, you sampled my piano, you didn't pay me, still, you could argue that it's not, because you've, you know, and essentially you've taken their piano and you've come up with this, right? So it's like you've really morphed it. It's not even theirs anymore, really. If you listen to it, it doesn't sound anything like this, right? Like the original recording. So that's what you'd have to do if you have a sound like a sample let's say like this, but you want that piano, but there's background music behind it. This is pretty much the best solution to sampling. Okay. You could also do other things, like, for example, you could take this, the original one. Wait, did I put the fader? Hold on. Let's take this one out here. Okay, so take this one. Let's say here, okay, duplicate this. All right. So I'm going to take that original sample again. All right. Now I'm going to put a low pass filter on it. So listen to this. Here's the original. Now, just playing that, okay, you have that piano, you copied, it's the original sample. You didn't add an effect or anything like that. You just copied it and you added a low pass filter on it. So right there, that's your bass line. So you guarantee you put drums on top of this and nobody's going to be able to tell what that is. Guaranteed. And especially you have your drums and you have other samples on top or other music tracks. Nobody's going to be able to tell where that is. Guaranteed. Because like I said, when you record it, once you record your full beat with this, whatever, people can't strip it off. Nobody can strip that off and come back to this and then pitch it back up and take the effect off, and it's impossible. So right there you got that. Then you can add this on top. You know what I mean? With your drums. There you go. There's your beat. All based around samples, and nobody can tell a thing really unless they're working for the NSA. But yeah. All right. So but what I have here is the same tune, but it doesn't have the background music. So you hear that? Because the piano, it just trails off, right? It's like boom. Okay, now let's say we're going to editing here. So you look at this, okay, and you can see right here, all right, it's just a piano note. Whereas with this one, hold on, with this one, when you get to this part right here, you can hear that background music. But with this one, when you get to this part, it's just the tail end of that piano note, which is here. So basically, you just have that piano. If you can get that, if you can sample something like this, okay, where it's just straight up piano, then you're golden, right? Then you could just do whatever. But that's if you chop it, because some people will take this and they'll just loop this whole thing, put their drums on it, and call it a beat. But sometimes you could do that. That's fine or whatever. I mean, there's plenty of beats that sound amazing that way. But I prefer to chop it. So you could take this, okay, chop it up. Let's say we go back to, let's go to this end here. Okay. So now I just took the little bit of the beginning here of the piano. Now I'm going to scale it. You know what I mean? So you could do that. Just hold on a sec. Let's just bring it out a bit more here. That's better. All right. So yeah, you scale it. Okay. Or if you have a keyboard, you have it across the keys. And then you know what I mean? So that's the best way. When you have a sample that is clean like this, okay, then you could just chop it up and scale it and then do whatever. You make your own little melody and stuff, and guarantee nobody will be able to tell where it comes from. But there are some where they might, and that's because you have depends on what the sample is. Okay, in this case, just a piano, Now, don't forget this piano here. This sample is a melody I made from a sample. So, and I don't even hear the original song that I sampled from when I'm playing it right now. I have no idea. I don't even remember what the hell I sampled, but this, I mean, the best thing to do is just chop it up, because I hear too many people that they take a sample like this and they just loop it. They don't really chop it. You need to chop it. Once you chop it, you play around with it. And even if it's like, let's say here, okay, hold on, okay. When you look at this here, okay, you have the piano right here. Let's check it here. So you got the one note, the second note. Okay, you could just chop it so that it's like this, let's say. Okay, so you have this one. Then you have your second pad right here. Well, actually, that's the same thing, really, but let's see here. Let's go to that. So you can have this now. You know what I mean? So you could just play with it that way, or you could just chop this up a little more, maybe just have just this part. Okay, so that to me is a lot better than just looping your sample. Take the sample you have, chop it up, play with it. That's the best thing. And that's the easiest thing, really, because it's a clean sample. Okay, there's no need, when it's a clean sample, there's no need to just loop it. You got to chop it and play with it. And that's what is the challenge of it and the fun of it. When you come back to this one, the one that has the music behind it, the other piano behind it, you have to get really creative. But when you come to just this one, there's no need to just loop it. Okay, you can, but if you do that, then I recommend you put some other music on top of it. That way you're kind of masking that sample, but still you're opening yourself up for, to be exposed. You know what I mean? So the best thing to do is just chop it up and play with it, and you'll come up with something really nice. Trust me. All right, so that's it for me. And now that you learned a few things, go make some beats.